Welcome back to First Strike here on the Sports Money Network. This is the home of your combat correspondents giving you their early looks to try to beat the books here for the UFC RIO. Charles Oliveira taking on a short notice Gamrot replacement. I've got MMA Jeff here. I've got Subhooman Gaucho here, and we're going to give you guys some early analysis. We've got 3 fights you'll see on the side of the screen. You'll see the odds that we're getting them at. You'll hear our breakdown and the way that we want to attack the card. And by the time you get to this video, we'll have half of the fights broken down for this big weekend here on the Sports Money Network to help you guys get ready for the big UFC live stream. We have an earlier start down in Brasilia de Brazil, Jeff, but how you feeling for this card?
Yeah, I'm excited. I love it when they go down to Brazil. Get the mid-afternoon card for the East Coast, and we got 13 fights. And, like you mentioned, the short notice on this main event, but I still think it's going to be a banger. And there's a handful of fights I'm really excited to see, so I'm looking forward to it.
Subhooman Gaucho is a banger last night. What a crazy fight we saw. Probably one of the best MMA spots I've seen in regardless of the level of competition there with the Dana White Contender Series. You fired up? You ready to go? Does that get you recharged and ready to attack this Saturday card?
Yeah, that was a really fun card last night there. Quick 5 fights, but there were some bangers in there. Some all-time greats on Dana White Contender Series. I don't know if you've ever seen really all-time great in the UFC for that matter. It was a great fight. But yeah, man, real card, I think it's a good betting card. Good main event. I think there's plenty to look forward to. Hopefully everybody down in Rio is doing well with all the methanol poisoned alcohol that's going around and whatnot.
I said to these guys the other day, I said, at this point, Brazil, we might just have to write them off the list. But the Olympics had problems. But hey, it looks great. The Eagles were able to find a victory down there. So we'll see if it can extend to our UFC weekend here. 3 fights. We're going to get after it here in the next couple of minutes. You guys, make sure you smash that thumbs up button. We're going to do, as always, starting with MMA Jeff, coming off a big win last week. He's going to talk to us about the Philo Carpenter spot for the early action, Jeff. The floor is yours. Tell us your path to victory.
Yeah, Mike, last week was a big one for me. We actually hit the 2 weeks prior to that, so we're looking for 4 in a row. I'm excited for this flyweight division. I think the matchmakers did us a real favor here. This fight started out as pretty much close to near a pick'em, and it is now moving towards the Carpenter side of things. Philo, he's ranked number 18 worldwide. He's 16-4 as a pro, but he sits just 2-2 in the UFC. He's coming in off a tough unanimous decision loss to Nascimento. I'll tell you what, that was a lot closer of a fight than a unanimous decision, in my opinion. At the end of the day, he still lost. He's a fast-paced fighter. He's willing to go out there and throw wild. He certainly doesn't shy away from some action. He's willing to throw some combos. He's got the ability to defend takedowns. He's got some grappling skill. If he does get in trouble, he's not afraid to take it to the mat. Watching back at some of his tape, he would much rather stay on the feet, so it seems, despite his half his victories are coming by submission. So he's willing to stand and bang. And if he does get in trouble, he's willing to drop to the mat and get some submissions and throw some attempts up there. So, again, I think he's a dynamic fighter, and he's an up-and-coming prospect here. On the other side of things, we got Carpenter. He's a solid young prospect as well. He's ranked number 20, which, again, I think the matchmakers did us a favor here. He's 8-1 as a pro, 2-1 in the UFC. Now, this guy was beating it up in the LFA. He ended up 3-0. He's a pretty solid fighter, well-rounded. He's coming off a tough unanimous loss as well, giving him his first professional loss overall. Came in the UFC as well. He's a fast-paced fighter. He's also a grappler. Although he's slightly shorter, I do believe he's going to look like the bigger fighter and the more aggressive fighter in the ring, despite both fighters wanting to attack each other. I think we see it all in this one, from a fast-paced standing on the feet, banging, to dropping some takedowns, and then some high-level grappling to get back to the feet. And I think we're going to see, again, up on the feet, down on the ground. I think it's going to be a back-and-forth fight as long as it rolls. As I mentioned, the money is starting to come in on the Carpenter side of things. I personally think he is the better fighter. I'll tell you what, though. I don't know who to take in this one. Ultimately, I don't think it's going to get to the judges. I'm going to roll fighter. Fight does not go to decision in this one. Plus 115. I thought that was a solid look. We've hit that a couple of weeks in a row now. So back to the well. fight does not go the distance at plus 115.
Jeff, it's debutante tell you for the UFC. We've got Alexieva, plenty of UFC experience, but Mosqueda coming in here, the newcomer, 34 years old, the newcomer out here, but an accomplished career in her own right, spending time in the BJJ circuit, very familiar with staying on the back, getting out there, getting it done. And look, you got to dig into this when you see some debutantes, and there's not a lot of numbers to go by with these things. You got to look at it and say, well, who have they fought? What does some of those regional competitions or some of those other promotions look like out there? And she's got some names in her back pocket. I'm not even sure if she's wearing a back pocket in that picture, but she's gone out there. Aruja, Jennifer Maya. We've seen Misha Tate. We've seen plenty of experience despite not quite having gotten to the UFC level. One of the things that I look for when I get into fighting and taking some debutantes, or at least taking a risk on somebody, how'd you do in your previous promotion? And you see the strap, none other than a champion. In fact, she fought at the last LFA event that we were in person for and looked darn good doing it. The thing that impressed me the most, her speed. It started out, it was like pretty slow. She was a pretty big favorite. And then bang, at the snap of your fingers, it was actually a KO victory that she walked away with in that spot. On the other side of things, she's got the bantamweight in Alexieva, who's a Russian that's been fighting in the UFC for a number of bouts now. And probably coming out of the Bellator circuit, skilled, I don't know, experienced, sure. A lot of UNAM decisions as well, so I don't suspect any gas tank issues, but it's the way that she fights, I think, puts her at risk in this one. Zombie-like fighter, always moving forward. She'll get inside a range and take a beating on her way in there. At some point, she'll try to shoot a takedown, and I mentioned, the comfort level on the back. She's certainly no stranger to fighting on her back, but she's a risky fighter, and she's okay to go out there and try a takedown, only to fall on her back and try to get out of there. And I think when you have somebody with the experience level of Mosqueda, granted, not at the UFC level, but the quickness, the experience, the fighting names of names, and now making her debut. She's not some 22-year-old coming in here doing this thing. She's 34 with experience in every level of competition she's fought. Came down to a matter of how do you play this fight. For me, I had to look at her by submission. Again, she's one of those fighters that she'll go on the ground. She'll wait for you to get stupid. She'll wear you out. She'll literally take your back in the middle of the ring. She'll climb the cage and take your back. It doesn't matter. She's just looking to get that submission out there. And I actually think we're getting a little buy low spot because she did come off that KO victory. So it's going to be Mosqueda. It's going to be submission. It's going to be minus 115. High probability, round two. I'm not a big take a submission person in round threes. These fighters get sweaty. It's hard to get that chokehold in there and finish them out and get that tap. So if it was going to be a submission spot for me, it's got to be a tap. Start this clean record off with a big victory in the UFC in Brazil. Give me Mosqueda at minus 115 for the submission. Subhuman, bringing us to the main event. Can't wait to hear this breakdown, Sub. How are we getting paid?
Well, great stuff, fellas. Like I said, I'm excited for this Rio card. I'm especially excited for this main event. This is a banger here. Got Charles Oliveira, King of Brazil, taking on a short notice Mateusz Gamrot. Interesting fight. Of course, it wasn't so long ago we had Oliveira as a champion. It was great to see. This guy's been around the UFC forever. I think he's going on 35 fights. This might be his 36th. This might be his 35th. I can't remember off the top of my head now, but he's done the darn thing. Absolute legend. Holds record most finishes, most submissions. And on the other hand, Gamrot's coming in here and he's streaking 4-1. Got the better of Ludovic Klein last time, like that matchup for Gamrot quite a bit. And he's quite the gamer. He's got a pretty good list of people that he's beat, in his 8-3 UFC career. Bread and butter is, of course, his wrestling. His top control is not particularly great, but he's got the motor. He's kind of like a tier down from a Marab or a Fluffy or somebody like that. He can go and go and go, shoot the takedowns, averages, of course, quite a bit. And, honestly, I think his strike, but I think his offensive striking is pretty good. His defensive striking, on the other hand, does leave, I think, a little bit to be desired. We've seen this guy pieced up by Beneil Dariush, Jalen Turner, Rafael Dos Santos. I think he got knocked down in 3 of his last 5. It's actually kind of impressive when you think about it, that he's 4-1 and he's getting knocked down as regularly as he is. But, he's got good recoverability. I don't think his chin is horrible, but, he is there to be hit, and he can be hurt. Charles Oliveira, switching to him, you can kind of say the same thing on the feet. This guy can also get knocked down. In the case of Charles Oliveira, I think he almost does it on purpose. He's kind of happy to go to the ground, so it's almost a case of him playing possum. But I think Charles Oliveira here is the side. He's undefeated in his UFC career in Brazil, finishing all of his opponents by finish, finishing all of his opponents. Charles Oliveira, on the other hand, you can hardly describe him coming in here on streaking, despite holding the belt not so long ago. He is just 2-3 in his last 5, but you look at who he's fought, and he's coming off of a KO loss, albeit a very bad KO loss to Ilia Topuria, the pound-for-pound king. He got out-wrestled to a split decision against Arman Tsarukyan a couple fights before that. But he had Arman in a lot of very bad spots. He could have easily finished that fight. And, before that, he lost to who was at that moment the pound-for-pound king in Islam Makhachev. So, yeah, he's 2-3, but you look at the level of competition, and it really doesn't get any more difficult than what he's had to go through. In this fight, I have to go with Charles here. Reason being, you look at Gamrot's last loss, his loss to Dan Hooker. Well, what did Dan Hooker do? Well, he got taken down a bunch, but he threatened with front chokes, and he got back up, scrambled back up to his feet. Well, Charles Oliveira happens to be the best front choker in the history of the UFC. I think he can do just that. I mentioned the Arman Tsarukyan loss. He put Arman in a lot of bad spots. I put Arman just a tier above Gamrot. And even in the loss that Charles suffered to Islam Makhachev, Makhachev has great top control, maybe the best in the UFC. He was still able to sweep and reverse Islam before he eventually got hurt and finished. But, if you can do that to Islam, you can do that to Matejša. I think that's what he's just going to do. Matejša have to fight a perfect 25-minute fight, in my opinion, to walk away with the victory, where Charles Oliveira has plenty of paths to victory. He can hurt you on the feet. He can certainly submit you on the mat, and I think we see a lot of wrestling in this one. So, yeah, give me the more dangerous fighter at home, and Charles Du Bronx Oliveira. I can't wait for that one. And, looking forward to seeing everybody on Saturday for UFC RIO.
And there it is, a 3-fight breakdown for you guys, getting ready, helping you prepare for the big UFC fight night in Rio. Shout out to MMA Jeff and Subhooman Gaucho. All you guys watching, make sure you smash that thumbs up button. Jeff, appreciate you doing it today. Tell us what's going on. Tell them where they can find you.
You can always find me over at X and Winnable, MMA Jeff 19, and looking forward to seeing you guys Saturday and getting some cash.
Saturday it is, Subhooman Gaucho. I know you're going to be ready to fire, banging out that card for us. Tell them what's going on and where they can find
you. Yeah, you can always find me at twitter.com, Subhooman Gaucho with 2 O's, and you can get the Winnable action, winnable.com/subclub. I've gone big on some bets in this one. The Win Club got Charles Oliveira plus 105. He's already down to a pick 'em, starting to flip favorites on some books. So, I got a couple props uploaded, got some bigger bets. I'm really looking forward to this. I think it's a very good betting card.
Looks like it's going to be a great card. You guys, appreciate you tuning in. Again, smash the thumbs up. Leave a comment with your favorite fight of the night. If you're going to tail or fade, let us know in the comments, and we'll be back to do it with you guys again real soon. You'll find us back here for First Strike on Wednesday. And, of course, we'll see you Saturday. It's going to be an early start. We're going to pop off around 4 p.m. to get into this card. It'll be a big weekend of college football, Major League Baseball. The NHL's got a full slate of action. It's going to be this is going to be the one, not the miss. We're going to be crushing it, kicking the bookies, and taking some names. So good luck to everybody this week, and we'll see you on Saturday.